The USS Liberty moved slowly through the dark space near the Kepler 442 system. Admiral Jack Morrison stood on the bridge, watching the stars through the big window. He had been in space for 20 years, but this mission felt different. Earth had sent them to explore new worlds and maybe find other life forms. Captain Lisa Grant walked up to him with a worried look on her face. She was young but smart, and Morrison trusted her judgment more than anyone else on the ship. "Admiral, we are picking up strange signals about 2 light hours ahead," she said quietly. Morrison turned to look at the screen that showed what their sensors had found. The signals were not natural. They were clearly made by someone or something with advanced technology. After 300 years of searching, humans had finally found proof that they were not alone in the universe. "Send a message on all frequencies," Morrison ordered. "Tell them we come in peace and want to talk." The crew worked quickly to prepare the message. They sent it in many different ways, hoping that whoever was out there would understand at least one of them. Then they waited. Space felt very quiet as everyone held their breath. 3 hours later their answer came. But it was not words or signals. It was weapons fire. Bright beams of energy suddenly lit up the darkness around the Liberty. The ship shook as the first blast hit their hull. Alarms started ringing everywhere. "Shields up. All hands to battle." "Stations!" Morrison shouted. Through the chaos, they could see the alien ships. There were 5 of them, each one twice the size of the Liberty. They were black and smooth, with no windows or lights that humans could see. They moved in perfect formation like they were dancing together in space. "They are not trying to talk," Grant said as she held onto her chair. Another blast hit them, and sparks flew from a control panel. "They are trying to kill us," the Liberty fired back with everything they had. Their missiles and energy weapons hit the alien ships, but the attacks seemed to bounce off without doing any damage. The aliens had some kind of protective barrier around their ships that human weapons could not break through. "We cannot win this fight," said Lieutenant Commander Ryan Brooks from the weapons station. His face was pale, but his voice stayed calm. "Their shields are too strong, and their weapons are much more powerful than ours." Morrison knew Brooks was right. The Liberty was a good ship, but it was built for exploration, not war. These alien ships were clearly made for fighting, and they were much more advanced than anything humans had ever built. "Get us out of here," Morrison ordered. "Maximum speed now." The Liberty turned and ran. The alien ships followed them for a while, firing their weapons and hitting the human ship again and again. The Liberty's hull was damaged, and several crew members were hurt, but finally the aliens stopped chasing them. Maybe they thought the humans were no longer a threat. As they flew back toward Earth, Morrison sat in his cabin and thought about what had happened. The aliens had attacked without warning. They had not tried to communicate or even find out who the humans were. They had simply decided to destroy them. Dr. Maya Thompson, the ship's science officer, came to see him. She was carrying a tablet with lots of numbers and charts on it. "Admiral, I have been studying the sensor data from the battle," she said. "The alien weapons use plasma energy, and their shields can stop all of our attacks. But I noticed something strange." Morrison looked up at her. "What did you see?" "Their ships moved in exact patterns," Thompson explained. "Every turn, every attack, everything was perfectly timed. It was like they were following a program, or a set of rules. They did not adapt or change their tactics, even when our weapons were not working." This was interesting information, but Morrison was not sure what it meant. "Are you saying they are not as smart as we thought?" "No, they are very advanced," Thompson said. "But maybe they think in a different way than we do. Maybe they always do things the same way because it has always worked before." Morrison nodded slowly. If Thompson was right, then maybe humans had a chance after all. Not because they were stronger or had better weapons, but because they could think differently. When the Liberty reached Earth 3 weeks later, the whole planet was in panic. The news of the alien attack had spread everywhere. People were scared and angry. Many wanted to surrender before the aliens came back. Others wanted to build bigger weapons and fight. President Danny Rodriguez called a meeting of all the world's leaders. Morrison was asked to tell them everything that had happened. He stood in front of the most powerful people on Earth and described the alien ships, their weapons, and their attack. "How long do we have?" asked General Paul Martinez, the head of Earth's military forces. "Not long," Morrison replied. "The ships are much faster than ours. If they decide to come to Earth, they could be here in months, not years." The room was quiet for a long time. Everyone was thinking about what this meant. Earth had no defense against weapons like the ones the aliens had used. If they came in large numbers, the human race might not survive, but Morrison had an idea. "We should not wait for them to come to us," he said. "We should go to them first?" Many people in the room looked shocked. "That is suicide," said one of the leaders. "We cannot fight ships like that." "We cannot fight them the way they expect us to fight," Morrison agreed. "But maybe we do not have to. Maybe we can fight them in a way they do not understand?" Morrison thought about what Dr. Thompson had said about the alien ships moving in patterns. If the aliens always did things the same way, then maybe humans could surprise them by doing things differently. "We need to build ships that are fast and hard to catch," Morrison explained. "We need to hit them where they do not expect it and run away before they can hit us back. We need to fight like humans, not like aliens." President Rodriguez looked at Morrison with interest. "Do you really think this could work?" Morrison looked back at him honestly. "I do not know. But I know that if we wait here and do nothing, we will all die when they come. At least this way. We have a chance." The meeting went on for hours, but in the end the leaders agreed. Earth would prepare for war, but it would be a different kind of war than anyone had ever fought before. They would use human creativity and human stubbornness against alien technology and alien power. As Morrison left the meeting, he thought about the crew of the Liberty and how brave they had been during the attack. Soon, many more humans would need to be just as brave. The survival of the human race might depend on it. The war for humanity's future was about to begin. 6 months had passed since the Liberty returned to Earth with news of the alien attack. The people of Earth had worked day and night to build new ships and weapons, but they knew their technology was still far behind what the aliens had. Supreme Commander Zekthol of the Corvani species stood on the bridge of his flagship. He was tall and covered in green scales with yellow eyes that showed no emotion. Around him, the Fourth Conquest Fleet moved through space in perfect formation. 847 warships, all ready for battle. Zekthol had conquered 12 different worlds for the Galactic Empire. Each time had been the same. The Empire would arrive with overwhelming force, demand surrender, and destroy anyone who refused. Most species gave up without a fight once they saw the size of the Imperial fleet. "Commander, we are approaching the edge of human space," reported his aide, a smaller Corvani warrior named Veltar. "Our scouts report only 193. Human ships, most appear to be converted civilian vessels." Zekthol made a sound that was like laughter in his species. 193 ships against 847. This will be over quickly. He had read the reports about human technology. Their weapons were primitive kinetic projectiles and simple energy beams. Their ships had no energy shields and moved slowly through space. What Zekthol did not know was that humans had spent those 6 months learning everything they could about Imperial tactics. Every battle the Empire had ever fought was studied. Every pattern was analyzed. And humans had discovered something important about their enemy. Captain Steve Williams commanded the human strike group Falcon Squadron. His ship was small and fast, built for hit-and-run attacks rather than standing battles. Next to him stood his weapons officer, Lieutenant Amy Jackson, a young woman who had trained as a pilot before the war began. "All ships, this is Falcon Leader," Williams said into his radio. "Remember the plan. We are not here to destroy their fleet. We are here to confuse them and make them angry. Hit the targets we discussed and get out fast." The Imperial fleet approached the human solar system in their traditional formation. The biggest ships were in the center, protected by smaller vessels on all sides. Their shields were linked together, creating one massive barrier that could stop almost any attack. Then the humans struck from 17 different directions at once. Williams led his squadron against the fleet's sensor arrays. These were the eyes and ears of the Imperial ships. Without them, the aliens would be blind in space. His ships appeared suddenly from behind an asteroid field, fired their weapons, and disappeared before the Imperial guns could turn to face them. At the same time, Commander Ryan Brooks attacked the fleet's communication towers. These tall structures on each ship allowed the aliens to talk to each other and coordinate their movements. Brooks's ships moved fast and low, firing small missiles that exploded against the towers and knocked them down. Captain Lisa Grant, who had been promoted after the Liberty incident, led a third group against the Imperial supply ships. These vessels carried fuel and ammunition for the warships. Grant's pilots flew right through the middle of the fleet, dodging the big guns and hitting the supply ships with everything they had. The Imperial fleet tried to respond, but their weapons were designed for fighting other fleets in open battle. The human ships were too small and too fast. They would appear, attack, and vanish before the aliens could lock onto them with their heavy guns. Ze Kadthal watched in growing anger as his perfect formation began to fall apart. His ships could not talk to each other. They could not see clearly, and the human attacks kept coming from everywhere at once. "Order all ships to break formation and pursue the human vessels," he commanded, but this was exactly what the humans wanted. As soon as the Imperial ships spread out, they became easier targets. Human squadrons that had been hiding behind planets and moons suddenly appeared and attacked the scattered alien vessels. Lieutenant Colonel Kate Miller led the most daring attack of all. Her ships flew directly at Zekthal's flagship, pretending to make a suicide run. The Imperial ship's shields and weapons focused on stopping her. But at the last second, Miller's ships scattered in all directions and a different group of human vessels attacked from behind. The flagship was not destroyed, but its main communication array was damaged. For the first time in his career, Zekthal could not control his entire fleet at once. The battle continued for 3 days. The humans never tried to fight the Imperial ships directly. Instead, they hit and ran, struck and vanished, appeared and disappeared like ghosts in space. They attacked supply lines, damaged sensors, destroyed communication equipment, and generally made life miserable for the aliens. By the end of the 3rd day, the mighty 4th Conquest Fleet was scattered across 3 different star systems. Many ships were lost not because they were destroyed, but because they could not find their way back to the main fleet. Others were damaged and limping through space, trying to repair their systems. Ze Kathal sat in his command chair, staring at the tactical display. Half of his fleet was missing. The other half was reporting damage to critical systems, and the humans were still out there somewhere, probably planning their next attack. "Commander," said Valtar nervously, "should we call for reinforcements?" Zekthal's pride did not want to admit that he needed help to defeat a primitive species like humans. But his practical mind knew that something had gone very wrong with this invasion. "Send a message to Imperial Command," he said finally. "Tell them the humans fight differently than expected. Request additional forces." What Zekthal did not understand was that humans had studied every Imperial battle for the past 3,000 years. They knew that the Empire always fought the same way because it had always worked. But humans had never won a war by doing what was expected. On Earth, Admiral Morrison read the reports from the battle with satisfaction. The human fleet had lost only 12 ships, while the Imperial fleet was in chaos. But Morrison knew this was just the beginning. "They will send more ships," he told President Rodriguez during their daily briefing. "Many more ships. We hurt their pride, and they will want revenge." "Can we do it again?" Rodriguez asked. Morrison looked at the tactical reports on his desk. The next Imperial fleet would be ready for human hit-and-run tactics. They would adapt their formations and their weapons, but humans would adapt too. "We will find a way," Morrison said. "We always do." In space, Captain Williams regrouped his squadron behind one of Jupiter's moons. His ships were damaged but not destroyed. His crew was tired but not defeated. And somewhere out there, the scattered Imperial fleet was trying to figure out what had happened to them? William smiled as he looked at the stars. The Galactic Empire had never lost a battle in 3,000 years, but they had never fought humans before. And humans had one advantage that no alien species had ever possessed. They were too stubborn to know when they were supposed to give up. The news of the Fourth Fleet's defeat reached the Imperial capital within days. Emperor Caxvel, the ancient crystal being who ruled the Galactic Empire, was not pleased. For 3,000 years, no species had ever defeated an Imperial conquest. Fleet, the humans had not just won a battle. They had done something impossible. Grand Admiral Varlac of the Nexari species received orders to end the human problem once and for all. The Nexari were known throughout the galaxy for their advanced technology and cold logic. Varlac had never lost a battle, and he did not plan to start now. He assembled the 5th and 6th Conquest fleets together. Over 1,500 warships equipped with the newest Imperial weapons and defenses. These ships had adaptive shields that could change to stop different kinds of attacks. They had targeting computers that could predict where enemy ships would move. And they had quantum communicators that could not be jammed or destroyed. The humans caught Zekthul by surprise, Varlac told his officers. They will not surprise us. We know their tactics now. We are ready for their hit and run attacks. But while the Empire prepared its new fleet, humans had not been sitting still. Dr. Carl Peterson worked in a secret laboratory deep under the mountains of Colorado. Next to him, engineer Beth Davis studied the wreckage of Imperial ships that had been captured during the first battle. "Look at this," Davis said, pointing to a piece of alien technology. "Their computers are incredibly advanced, but they all work the same way. They follow programs that were written thousands of years ago. They cannot learn or change." Peterson nodded as he examined the alien circuitry. "Our computers are different. We built them to think and adapt. What if we could make them even better?" For months, human scientists had been working on something the Empire had never seen before. They called it adaptive artificial intelligence. These computer brains could learn from every battle, remember every enemy tactic, and come up with new solutions in real time. The first AI captain was installed on Captain Tom Bradley's ship, the USS Defiant. Bradley was nervous about letting a computer help control his vessel, but the early tests were amazing. The AI could process information faster than any human brain and react to threats in milliseconds. It is like having a genius tactical officer who never gets tired and never makes mistakes, Bradley told Admiral Morrison during the test flights, but the AI was only part of humanity's new strategy. Lieutenant Colonel Kate Miller had been working with Dr. Sam Roberts to develop new weapons and armor for human soldiers. They had studied captured Imperial equipment and found its weakness. "All of their technology depends on energy," Roberts explained to Miller as they tested the new gear. "Their shields, their computers, their weapons, everything runs on power. But what happens if we can shut off that power?" The answer was electromagnetic pulse weapons. These devices could send out invisible waves that would destroy electronic systems without harming people. The Empire's advanced technology suddenly became a weakness instead of a strength. Miller's Marines tested the new equipment on captured Imperial robots. One pulse from their weapons, and the alien machines stopped working completely. Their advanced armor became useless metal, and their plasma guns became expensive clubs. When Grand Admiral Varlac's massive fleet finally arrived at the edge of human space, they expected to face the same small, primitive ships that had fought the Fourth Fleet. Instead, they found something completely different. The human fleet that met them was still smaller in number, but these ships moved and fought like nothing the Empire had ever seen. The AI captains could predict Imperial movements before the aliens made them. They knew exactly where to strike and when to retreat. Captain Bradley's USS Defiant led the first attack. The ship's AI had analyzed thousands of Imperial battle records and found patterns that even the aliens did not know they were following. When the Imperial ships moved to surround the human vessel, the AI already knew what they would do next. The Defiant suddenly accelerated and turned in ways that should have been impossible. The Imperial targeting computers tried to lock onto it, but the AI was changing course faster than they could calculate. The human ship slipped through the alien formation like water through a net. Behind the Defiant came more human vessels, each one controlled by its own AI captain. They moved together in perfect coordination, striking at weak points in the Imperial formation that the aliens did not even know existed. Admiral Vorlak watched from his flagship as his carefully planned attack fell apart. "Impossible," he said to his tactical officer. "Their ships are moving in patterns we have never seen before. How are they predicting our movements?" The answer came when human Marines, led by Colonel Miller, boarded several Imperial ships. They wore powered armor that protected them from alien weapons, and they carried EMP devices that shut down Imperial technology. The aliens had never faced soldiers who could turn their own ships against them. Miller's Marines moved through the Imperial vessels, shutting down weapon systems and taking control of important areas. The aliens found themselves fighting with primitive backup systems while the humans used the ship's own technology against them. But the most shocking moment came when Dr. Roberts revealed humanity's latest innovation. Human engineers had not just copied Imperial technology. They had torn it apart and rebuilt it using human ideas and human creativity. The result was hybrid weapons that combined Imperial energy systems with human adaptability. These new guns could change their power and type of beam depending on what they were shooting at. Imperial shields that could stop energy weapons found themselves facing projectiles. Armor designed to deflect solid objects was hit by plasma beams. The Battle of Proxima Centauri lasted only 6 hours. When it was over, the mighty combined 5th and 6th Conquest fleets had been destroyed or scattered. 200 human ships had defeated 800 Imperial vessels through superior tactics, adaptive technology, and pure human stubbornness. Admiral Vorlak's flagship limped away from the battle, heavily damaged and barely functional. As he watched the human ships regroup and begin rescuing survivors, he realized something that terrified him more than death. The humans were not just winning through luck or surprise. They were learning and improving faster than the Empire could adapt. Every battle made them stronger while the Empire grew weaker. "Send a message to the Emperor," Vorlak told his communications officer. "Tell him that the humans are not just another primitive species. They are something new, something we have never faced before." On Earth, Admiral Morrison read the battle reports with satisfaction but not celebration. 2 major Imperial fleets had been defeated, but he knew the war was far from over. The Empire still had thousands of ships and millions of soldiers, but for the first time since the war began, Morrison felt something he had almost forgotten: hope. Humanity had proven that superior technology could be beaten by superior thinking. The Empire's greatest strength, their rigid adherence to proven tactics, had become their greatest weakness. Dr. Peterson approached Morrison with a new report. "Admiral, our A's are already analyzing this battle and preparing for the next one. They are learning faster than we ever imagined possible." Morrison nodded and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Galactic Empire was probably preparing an even larger fleet to send against humanity. But humans would be ready for them. They always were. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon was not their ships or their guns or their technology. It was their ability to think of new solutions to old problems. And that was something no empire could prepare for. The news of the second defeat sent shock waves through every world in the Galactic Empire. On the crystal homeworld of the Zephyri, Emperor Caxvel stood in his throne room, his crystalline body glowing with anger. For 3,000 years, the Empire had never lost 2 major fleets to the same enemy. The humans were making him look weak in front of his subjects. "Bring me every fleet commander," the Emperor ordered his servants. "Gather every ship we have. I will personally destroy these humans and show the galaxy that the Empire is still strong." Within weeks, the largest military force in galactic history began to assemble. 8 conquest fleets joined together, over 3,000 warships of every size and type. There were massive dreadnoughts that could destroy planets, fast attack, ships that moved like lightning, and carrier vessels full of fighter craft. The Emperor's personal ship, the Eternal Dominion, was larger than most human cities. It carried weapons that could burn the surface of a world and shields that could protect it from almost any attack. No enemy had ever seen the Emperor's ship and lived to tell about it. Admiral Morrison watched the Imperial buildup through human spy networks and stolen communications. The size of the enemy fleet was terrifying. Even with all of humanity's new technology and tactics, they could not fight 3,000 ships at once. "We need a new plan," Morrison told his staff during an emergency meeting. "We cannot defend Earth against a force that large, but maybe we do not have to." Captain Nicole Turner, one of humanity's best pilots, listened as Morrison explained his idea. Instead of waiting for the Imperial fleet to reach Earth, humanity would strike at the Empire's core worlds while their ships were away. "You want us to attack their home planets while they attack ours?" Turner asked. "That sounds like suicide." "It sounds like the only chance we have," Morrison replied. "The Empire has never had to defend their core worlds. All of their ships are here preparing to attack us. Their home systems will be almost undefended." Turner nodded slowly. She had been thinking the same thing herself. The Empire was so focused on destroying humanity that they had left their own worlds vulnerable. Human engineers had been working on a new type of ship drive called quantum tunneling. These engines could move ships through space in ways that Imperial sensors could not detect. A human fleet could appear anywhere in the galaxy without warning. Turner's fleet consisted of 50 ships, all equipped with the new drives and crewed by volunteers who knew they might never return home. Their mission was not to conquer Imperial worlds, but to prove that nowhere in the Empire was safe from human attack. The first target was Corvex Prime, the homeworld of the reptilian Corvani species. The planet had not seen war for over 1,000 years. Its defenses were old and designed to stop attacks from space, not from ships that could appear inside their sensor range. Turner's ships materialized above the planet like ghosts. Before the planetary defenses could react, human vessels were attacking military installations, communication centers, and government buildings. They did not try to hurt civilians, but they made sure everyone knew that humans had reached the heart of the Empire. At the same time, Colonel Frank Lewis led human ground forces in an even more daring mission. They landed on Veltara, a world where the Empire kept millions of slave workers from conquered species. These people had served the Empire for centuries. Believing that resistance was impossible, Lewis and his Marines fought their way through Imperial guard posts, their EMP weapons shutting down alien technology and their powered armor protecting them from energy blasts. But the real battle was not against Imperial soldiers. It was for the hearts and minds of the enslaved populations. "You do not have to serve them anymore," Lewis told a group of freed workers from the insectoid klaxon species. "We are here to show you that the Empire can be beaten. You can be free." Word of the human attack spread through Imperial space faster than the government could stop it. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Empire's subjects saw their masters as vulnerable. Rebellions began to break out on dozens of worlds. Emperor Caxwell received reports of the attacks while his massive fleet was still 2 weeks away from Earth. He was furious that humans had dared to attack Imperial core worlds, but he was also worried if the rebellion spread, his entire empire could collapse. "Continue toward Earth," he ordered his fleet commanders. "We will destroy their homeworld and end this war. Then we will deal with the rebels." But the Emperor did not understand how much the galaxy had changed. The idea that the Empire could be defeated was spreading like fire through dry grass. Species that had been enslaved for centuries began to remember what freedom felt like. On Earth, the human population prepared for the final battle. Every person, from children to elderly citizens, was given a role in the defense of their world. The entire solar system was turned into a weapon. Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked out at the preparations. Asteroid mining stations had been converted into missile platforms. Civilian ships carried experimental weapons. Even the space elevators connecting Earth to its orbital stations were rigged with explosives that could be used against attacking ships. "They think they are coming to destroy a helpless planet," Morrison said to Captain Grant, who had been promoted to serve as his second in command. "They do not realize they are flying into a trap?" The human defense plan was unlike anything ever tried before. Instead of meeting the Imperial fleet in open space, humanity would let them come close to Earth. Then every hidden weapon, every converted station, every armed civilian ship would attack at once. Dr. Helen Adams, working in a secret facility on the Moon, made the final preparations for humanity's most dangerous weapon. Not a bomb or a gun, but a computer virus designed to invade Imperial communication networks. "If this works," Adams told her team, "we will be able to see everything they are planning before they do it. We will know where every ship is and what every commander is thinking." The virus was based on human creativity and chaos theory. Imperial computers were designed to work in orderly, predictable ways. The human virus would introduce random elements that would confuse and disrupt their systems. As Emperor Caxvel's massive fleet approached the Earth system, they expected to find a desperate planet trying to hide behind its primitive defenses. Instead, they found something that no Imperial commander had ever seen before. An entire star system that had been turned into a battlefield. Every asteroid could hide a weapon. Every empty patch of space could conceal a strike force. And somewhere in the chaos, the humans were waiting with 3,000 years of Imperial tactical knowledge and the creativity to use it in ways no alien mind could predict. The Emperor looked at the tactical displays showing the human solar system and felt something he had not experienced in centuries. Doubt. The humans had surprised the Empire before, but this felt different. This felt like walking into the lair of a predator that knew you were coming. "Begin the attack," he ordered his fleet. "Destroy everything." But as the Imperial ships moved forward, they entered a maze of human ingenuity and determination. The final battle for the future of the galaxy was about to begin. And for the first time in 3,000 years, the Galactic Empire was not sure it could win. The Battle of Sol began at dawn on Earth time, though in space there was no real morning or night. Emperor Caxvel's massive fleet of 3,000 ships approached the human solar system like a dark cloud blocking out the stars. The Emperor himself stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching as his forces prepared to destroy humanity once and for all. General Paul Martinez coordinated Earth's defenses from a command center deep underground. Next to him, Admiral Rebecca Clark watched dozens of screens showing Imperial ships moving toward their planet. They had planned for this moment for months, but seeing the actual size of the enemy fleet was still frightening. "Remember, everyone," Martinez spoke into his radio to defense stations across the solar system, "we are not trying to defeat them in open battle. We are trying to make them fight our way on our terms in our space." The first Imperial ships entered the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. They expected to find scattered rocks and maybe a few hidden human weapons. Instead, they found that humans had turned every large asteroid into a weapons platform. Captain Joe Martinez, the general's younger brother, commanded the hidden fortress built inside the asteroid series. When the Imperial ships came within range, hundreds of asteroids suddenly came alive with missile fire and energy beams. The aliens found themselves under attack from enemies they could not see or target effectively, but this was only the beginning. As the Imperial fleet pushed deeper into the solar system, they discovered that humans had prepared surprises everywhere. Old mining stations opened up to reveal powerful weapons. Civilian ships that looked harmless suddenly turned and attacked with experimental guns. Even pieces of space junk turned out to be camouflaged human fighters. Emperor Caxvel watched his orderly battle plan fall apart as his ships were forced to fight in all directions at once. "This is not how space battles are supposed to work," he told his tactical officer. "Where is their main fleet? Why will they not face us directly?" The answer came from Dr. Helen Adams, working frantically in her lunar laboratory. Her computer virus had finally broken into the Imperial communication network. Suddenly, human commanders could see everything the Empire was planning. Admiral Morrison, Adams reported over the radio. I can see their tactical displays. The Emperor is planning to send his dreadnoughts directly toward Earth while his smaller ships deal with our hidden weapons. Morrison smiled as he received the report. His flagship, the USS Independence, was hidden behind one of Jupiter's moons along with the main human battle fleet. Perfect. Let them come closer to Earth. The closer they get, the more surprises they will find. The Emperor's dreadnoughts pushed through the human defenses, their massive shields absorbing punishment that would have destroyed smaller ships. These vessels were the size of cities and carried enough firepower to burn planets. Nothing inhuman. Space seemed able to stop them, but as they approached Earth's moon, the dreadnoughts flew into the most carefully prepared trap in human history. The moon itself had been turned into a weapon. Hidden bases on the lunar surface opened up and fired every weapon humanity had been developing for the past year. More importantly, human boarding teams launched from concealed positions and attached themselves to the Imperial dreadnoughts. These Marines, led by Colonel Kate Miller, used their EMP weapons to shut down sections of the massive ships and fought their way toward the command centers. The battle inside the dreadnoughts was unlike anything the Empire had ever experienced. Human soldiers moved through alien corridors, using the ship's own systems against their crews. Imperial technology, so advanced and powerful, became useless when the humans could turn it off with their pulse weapons on the bridge of his flagship. Emperor Caxwell felt control of the battle slipping away. His ships were scattered throughout the solar system, fighting enemies that appeared and disappeared like phantoms. His communications were being jammed by human viruses, and now his most powerful vessels were being captured from the inside. Impossible, the Emperor said, his crystalline body flickering with frustrated energy. How can a primitive species do this to us? The answer came when Captain Joe Martinez led his ship, the USS Independence, in a direct attack on the Emperor's flagship. The human vessel was tiny compared to the Eternal Dominion, but it moved with speed and precision that the Imperial ship could not match. Martinez's ship dodged through the flagship's defensive fire like it was dancing among the energy beams. The human AI controlling the ship's movements had studied every battle the Empire had ever fought and knew exactly how their weapons would track and fire. But the real breakthrough came when Martinez's boarding team made it onto the Imperial flagship. Among them was Dr. Sam Roberts, carrying a special device that could interface with Imperial computer systems. Instead of trying to destroy the enemy ship, the humans took control of it. Emperor Caxwell, Martinez said over the ship's communication system, "This is Captain Martinez of the human fleet. Your flagship is now under our control. Order your remaining ships to surrender, and we can end this battle without more bloodshed." The Emperor stared at the human officer on his screen. For 3,000 years, no one had dared to speak to him as an equal. The idea of surrendering to a species the Empire had tried to destroy was unthinkable, but as Caxwell looked at his tactical displays, he saw that the battle was already over. More than half of his fleet was destroyed or captured. His remaining ships were scattered and unable to coordinate their attacks. And throughout Imperial space, rebellions were breaking out on dozens of worlds. What do you want from us? The Emperor asked finally. Martinez looked at the ancient alien ruler with something that might have been pity. We want what every thinking being in the galaxy wants: freedom, the right to live without fear, the chance to make our own choices. Admiral Morrison's voice came over the communication channel. Your empire is finished, Emperor. But that does not mean your people have to suffer. We are offering a chance to build something better together. The Emperor was quiet for a long time. Around him, his officers waited to see what he would decide. Finally, the ancient crystal being who had ruled the galaxy for centuries made his choice. I surrender, Caxwell said. The Galactic Empire yields to humanity. The news of the Emperor's surrender spread across the galaxy faster than any ship could travel. On 1,000 worlds, enslaved species looked up at the stars and realized they were free. The empire that had seemed eternal was gone, ended not by superior force, but by the simple idea that all beings deserved to choose their own destiny. 1 year later, Admiral Morrison stood in the same room where he had first warned Earth's leaders about the alien threat. But now he wore the uniform of Secretary General of the new Galactic Federation, a voluntary alliance of species working together instead of serving an emperor. "The war is over," Morrison told the assembled representatives from dozens of worlds. "But our real work is just beginning. We have to build something that has never existed before in this galaxy. A government based on cooperation instead of conquest. It would not be easy. Species that had hated each other for thousands of years would have to learn to work together. Worlds that had only known slavery would have to discover freedom. And humans who had spent their whole history fighting each other would have to help guide a galaxy toward peace." But as Morrison looked out at the stars, he felt something he had learned during the war. When people are given the chance to choose hope over fear, freedom over slavery, cooperation over conquest, they will usually choose the better path. The galaxy was finally free to discover what it could become when its people worked together, instead of against each other. And humanity, the species that had been marked for destruction, had given the universe its greatest gift, the courage to dream of something better.